In this video, we're going to explore how to multiply a polynomial by a monomial, and then how to factor out a monomial from a polynomial. So we'll start with multiplying. Multiplying is just using the distributive property that you've already learned. I want to do several examples and then let you do a few as well. So the first example at the top is 3 times x squared plus 2x plus 5, and we distribute in the following way. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 2x is 6x, plus 3 times 5 is 15. So there's the answer to that multiplication. The second one will multiply by a variable. X times 9x cubed is 9x to the fourth, minus x times 4x, that's 4x squared, plus x times 6, which is 6x. In the next example, we'll see what happens when the monomial is negative. We're going to multiply negative 4x times x cubed. That will give us negative 4x to the fourth, minus negative 4x times 2x. So that's minus 2 negative signs result in a plus. So that's plus 8x squared. The next two problems here are for you to try. I'd like you to stop the video, work them out in your journal, and restart the video when you're finished. Okay. First example, 6x times 2x to the fourth minus x plus 10 works out like this. 6x times 2x to the fourth is 12, x to the fifth, minus 6x times x, that's 6x squared, plus 6x times 10, that's 60x. And finally, negative 3x to the fifth times x to the seventh plus 2x to the fourth plus 8. Negative 3x to the fifth times x to the seventh is negative 3x to the 12th. Negative 3x to the fifth times 2x to the fourth is negative 6x to the ninth. And then negative 3x to the fifth times 8 is minus 24x to the fifth. Now we're going to look at factoring. Factoring is, you can think of it as kind of unmultiplying. It's reversing the process of multiplying. To see how factoring works and how you find the factor, I'm going to do these two examples. First, I'm going to multiply them, and then we're going to explore how to factor them. So multiplying this one, we will get 7 times 4 is 28, and then x times x cubed is x to the fourth, plus 6 times 7 is 42, x cubed, plus 21x. Okay? And the problem I might ask you is to factor 28x to the fourth plus 42x cubed plus 21x. Now, the way we do this is first to look at the greatest common factor of the numbers. The greatest common factor of all of these numbers is 7. The next thing to do is to look at the variable x and see what is the greatest number of factors of x that the terms have in common. This has 4 x factors, this has 3 factors of x, and this has 1. So x is the greatest variable factor that they all have in common. Now let's fill in the other term. 7 times what equals 28? That's 7 times 4. And x times what equals x to the fourth? That's x cubed. Next, 42. 7 times what equals 42? That's 6. And x times what equals x cubed? That's x squared. And finally, 7 times what equals 21? That's 3. And x times x, x times what equals x? That's x times 1. And when a factor is 1, we don't need to write it. So this is how we factor 28x to the fourth plus 42x cubed plus 21x. Let's do one more example. I'll do it in both directions. 5x squared times 7x cubed, that's 35x to the fifth. And then minus 5 times 10 is 50, x to the fourth. And then plus 15x squared. Now let's factor. First, we'll look at the numbers, and we'll see that 5 appears to be the greatest common factor. Now we'll look at the x variable and see which of these is the greatest common factor. So this has 5 factors of x, this has 4 factors of x, this has 2. So x squared is the greatest common factor since they all have an x squared in there. Now 5 times what equals 35? That's 7. X squared times what equals x to the fifth? That's x to the third. Minus 5 times what equals 50? That's 10. And x squared times what equals x to the fourth? That's x squared. Plus 5 times what equals 15? That's 5 times 3. And x squared times what equals x squared? That's just 1. So we leave that alone. And there's our solution. So we have factored 35x to the fifth minus 50x to the fourth plus 15x squared into this form. I'd like to do 2 more examples for you, and then I'll let you do a few on your own. This first one, 14x to the fourth plus 28x cubed plus 7, has a feature that some people get confused on, and I just wanted to straighten that out. So first we'll look at the numbers. The numbers are 14, 28, and 7. So the common factor is going to be 7. And there is no common x factor that all 3 of them have, so 7 is the common factor. 7 times what equals 14x to the fourth? That's 2x to the fourth. 7 times what equals 28x cubed? That's 7 times 4x cubed. And then 7 times what equals 7? That's 1. And we need to remember to put that plus 1 in order to make this work out. Second example. Let's take a look at these 3 numbers and see what the common factor is. Now, there is no factor that's common to all 3 of these numbers. 5 is not a common factor, 3 is not a common factor. So there is no common numeric factor. Also, you'll notice that not all of the terms have a z in them either. So in this case, there is no common factor. And if asked to factor this, your result should simply be to copy the problem again, 15z cubed minus 5z squared plus 3. And you might write can't be factored. Okay. Now, I'll leave these last 3 for you to try. And you can stop the video, work them out, and then I'll work them out quickly for you after you restart the video. Okay, the first example, the common numeric factor is 3, and t is the greatest common variable factor. So 3t times 5t squared is 15t cubed, minus 3 times 3 is 9, and t times t is t squared, plus 3t, that's 1, and there's your factoring. For the second one, we'll look at the numbers, and there are no common numeric factors. 42 has factors of 2, 3, and 7. This is 2 and 7. This is just 5. So there are no common factors in the numbers, but y is a common variable factor. And so this would be y times 42y to the third plus 14y minus 5. And then this last one has 3 as a common numeric factor, a to the fourth as a common variable factor. So this would be 3a squared minus 3 times 6 is 18, and a to the fourth times a is a to the fifth, plus 6a to the fourth, so that's 2. And finally, I'll leave you these 2 more to factor on your own. Take a moment to stop the video, work them out in your journal, and restart the video to see the answers. And there are the answers to these 2.